Let's go! Today we're talking about my deepest sleeper on this entire roster as a true freshman contributor. We'll get into so many different reps today as well in the one-on-one portion as LSU gets ready for USC. And look, I know most of you want to see just, the fancy smancy skill guys, but we've got to talk about one interesting development that's been happening at LSU practice, which is improved play from the defense. So in the background, this is the LSU offensive line working out together. This is a drill where they are working on their communication on something called stunts. And obviously, this is going to be something very interesting for the season opener versus USC because their new defensive coordinator is known for doing something called simulated pressures where they're bringing four guys, but it's not the four that you think. So this defensive line drops out, the backer blitzes, and that's what they're working on here, which is the communication, which I think USC is going to do a lot of. But the LSU offensive line, they dominate most practices, but based on what I'm hearing from people that go to the practices and people that are in the building at LSU, the defense has had a better couple of days. Now, that does not mean that I am on fire, in particular about this front, but let's give Jacoby and Guillory as a leader a lot of credit. Dominic McKinley is getting better and better. Obviously, there's Gio Paez. This group has had some better practices, right? They lost a depth piece in Preston Hickey. He wore number 88, but now you have a new number 88 who's not on the roster. But this is going to be your main guy right here. But as many of you know, you can have one great LSU defensive tackle, but they normally come in pairs, right? So even if Guillory does break out, you need that second guy, right? Kyle Williams and Chad Lavallee, Gillen Dorsey and Marlon Favorite and Ricky G. Francois, and so on and so on and so on. Defensive tackles, Brockers, and Logan, they normally come in pairs. So you not only need two, you probably need three or four, and Bo Davis is probably going to be the difference maker. But I have become a little bit more bullish on Jacoby and Guillory. Look, his dad has been a big supporter of ours, and I got to meet him at the spring game, which was awesome. So I am really rooting for him, but they're going to need some guys to be absolutely superhuman this next year compared to relative expectation. There's Ahmad Bro, former PHL guest who's growing on me, who's made the switch to defensive tackle. We'll see how all this plays out, but there's not many people you would rather have in this spot than the man who's actually coaching them up right now, okay? One final thing, and there's JVR Suggs, number 31. I have heard that Savion Jones has hit another level since being at LSU. All right, so let's talk about the LSU starting defense. And the guy that has really, really picked it up, Savion Jones, okay? We'll get to the front in just a second, but more than likely, this will be your starting defense versus USC, okay? Sage Ryan at one corner. The opposite corner over here is number one Ashton Stamps. And then you have Major Burns right here playing your nickel or the money. And then you have at free safety here, Jordan Allen. Your strong safety is Jordan Gilbert. And then your two inside the mic and the wheel here is Greg Penn and Harold Perkins, okay? And in your front, you have Savion Jones at one end. The opposite end, more than likely, is going to be Raiden Swinson. Obviously, he's not practicing, so that's Womack over there. And your starting DTs, looks like it's Guillory and 99, which is Gio Paez. So that's more than likely going to be your starting defense, or at least 9 of the starting 11 in there. Once again, Braden Swinson not practicing, finishing up a class. And that class actually was Spanish, according to Matthew Brune, our guest from last night. One of my favorite LSU writers. It's floating in the top right corner of your screen. I also struggled with Spanish, and I think he's doing Spanish 4. I failed Spanish 2 3 times at LSU. 3 times, and it prevented me from graduating. So we don't have him just yet, and we don't have Jalen Lee, but I expect them to be ready to go. Now, this is where it gets interesting with this LSU defense, okay? All right, so the unit that's very interesting is this second unit, okay? I have already seen some young guys jumping some older guys on the depth chart, and I think there is a growing number of you that would prefer this safety duo start, which is Kylan Jackson, and the other who's not pictured, number 10, is Deshaun Springs, okay? So very interesting. One of your corners here is J.K. Johnson. Your nickel here is JUAN Johnson, the true freshman at LCA. And then your opposite corner is a guy who many expect to start, P.J. Woodland, the 3-star true freshman out of Mississippi. And your starting off-ball or your backup off-ball linebackers, you have the Weeks brothers here. And then Paris Sheehan takes over that Mason Smith number 0. You also have 95 in here, which is Sean Washington. I also see Chemo in there. So, once again, a very interesting second unit. All right, so we get to the one-on-ones. There's Chris Hilton cooking up Sage Ryan there. Once again, in-breakers are so much more difficult to guard in this drill. Landon Ibietta's had some interesting plays. I just think he's too buried on the depth chart to really get some playing time. That was actually a really good rep by the corner, J.K. Johnson. And now we get to the man that is really making headlines. This has been a matchup right here. Trey'Dez Green going up against Deshaun Springs. And, man, this is redunculous. Now, if you go watch our first practice breakdown, we talked about how Trey'Dez Green had just been throwing guys off of him. He's aggressive. He stays very competitive. And look at this, man, staying with them all the way. And let's see, could this ball have still been caught? Yes. Okay. This is something I think, young receivers struggle with, which is leaving your feet, right? I don't think he needed to jump for this. So when you jump, you lose so much of your balance, so much of your leverage, and you naturally allow the player to just push you. Now, did he need to jump? Let's see. Let's give a little slow-mo here. All right. That swim move that he had been using, it's also a move used in basketball quite a bit, and kind of drifted upfield a little bit on this route. No, he didn't need to jump. You could see he actually over-jumped, and the ball hit him in the face mask. So really, really good coverage right there by Deshaun, who is going to play a lot this year. Okay? Now, what's interesting is those are 2 of my top 5 graded players in this last recruiting class. And if you want to see, woo! All right, so before I share this, once again, you can go to Patreon and get every single LSU player from the last 3 years, all of my recruiting grades. I do my own recruiting grading on Patreon. So, man, this is really good by Aaron Anderson, who, I've been harsh on. He's not really done a whole lot. One of the lowest yards per target on the team. Here he is going up against Major Burns, all right? They have had some interesting battles. So, Major Burns, this is your slot corner. There's not going to be a lot of instances where the slot corner is going to be pressed up against the slot quite like this. You more often see this, on the outside, but there's going to be times where you're going to be in this spot. Actually, it just depends on the defense. You might see this a lot, right? So this is new for Major Burns, guarding a lot of guys in the slot, and right here he just gets cooked. This is a really good route right here by Aaron Anderson. Stacks him, and then, he does a really good job not selling which way he's going to go. He can go this way or this way. God, this is a good route. That's as good as it gets almost. So really good stuff. I'm wishing the best for Aaron Anderson. And this is a good opportunity for Aaron because Xavion Thomas is still hurt. Let's see. Man, this wasn't a good ball. Who threw this one? I think that was, it was Ricky. It's P.J. Woodland. And God, that's a pretty good route right here by Kyle Parker. Could he have caught that? No, I don't think so. Very interesting. Let's get to the next rep here. Okay, Kylan Billiot. Jair Brown. Oh, that's nasty. Really, really good stuff. Stayed with them stride for stride, and good play. Really freaking good play. Let's keep it going here. There's one rep I really want to spend a decent amount of time on. Here's Pimpton. Oh, this is just so nasty, man. God, I mean, the way he's had practice these last couple of days, there are some physicality concerns, some blocking concerns, But, man, if you have a tight end that could get in the slot and do this to people, once again, this is Austin Osbury, one of the backups on this LSU secondary. But, man, that's just gross. That's really good separation right there. Tight end going up against a DB right there. Okay. There's Kylan Jackson. Not bad. Got beat a little bit. That was Javen Nichols. Let's see what happens on this next rep. Oh, I think this is it, y'all. I think this is it. It is. Okay. I'm telling you right now. All right, so a few weeks ago, we did our deepest deep cut LSU sleeper piece, okay? And I mean the deepest deep cut guys. Guys that are in that third and fourth string tier. And my number one guy in the secondary on the deepest deep cuts is Michael Turner, okay? We did a rep, and here he is going up against another true freshman in Jelani Watkins. Y'all, this is ridiculous for a guy who was mostly a receiver in high school. The fluidity that this guy has naturally, the speed he has naturally, he's probably the fastest DB on this team. It's just incredible. He's just so small, right? So he's probably still more of a year two guy, but this might be the best DB rep I saw. He is so, he cuts like butter, or a butter knife, man. Great ball skills, and he's running the route as good as the receiver's running it. Michael Turner, my deepest deep cut sleeper going in to next year. Man, this is so good. Stamps your number one corner going up against the number one receiver. Really, really, really nice play by both, but more so obviously Kylan. Or I say Kyron. Oh, nice. Who is 22? Okay, that's Joel Rogers. Good experience for Joel. True freshman going up against a guy who will play in the NFL next year. Mason Taylor. Okay, let's see if he got a foot in. All right, here's Jordan Gilbert. Okay, true freshman Mammoth versus a year three guy. All right, Gilbert played at U High, so literally Gilbert practiced about 10 yards away from where he's standing right now. And earlier this week in our first video, you saw Trey'Dez just throw Gilbert off of him. Kind of more of the same right there. Trey'Dez Green just keeps making plays, right? Man, Aaron Anderson is having a really good session right here. And look, Major Burns cannot guard him. Or no, is this Major Burns? Yeah. Burns cannot keep up with him. Okay? Anderson is cooking Major. Once again, it's harder to guard in-breakers in this drill. Okay? God, that's really good coverage right here by Zy Alexander. Okay? They're moving Zy Alexander in slowly coming off the injury, but this is really, really, really good stuff all over Kyle Parker. Still should have been caught, but it is still really good coverage. Okay. Oh, nice job, Colin Billiot, right here on the comeback. Sticking with it. There you go. All right, Pimp. Dang, dude. Deshaun, man, is just on a different level when it comes to competitiveness. And I'll be honest, he ended up my number one player in the entire class, number 10. Deshaun, formerly McBride, now Deshaun Springs. God, man, he's just on a different level, right? You could just feel something when you watch him play. There's Kylan Jackson. Oh, let's see. Oh, good rep right here by Javen Nichols, right? Very popular guy in the building. Big-time special teamer as well. Good rep right there by Nichols. So there you go. So as you guys saw, not as many fancy edits because I have a few appointments to go to today. But I want to thank our friends at NOPOD, the No Off Season Sports Card Network, and so on for supporting us. There's so many different people out there as we go through these final few reps. Okay, year two versus year one player, starter versus backup. Once again, this is a guy who's been unbelievable. Ashton Stamps. This is a good job by Kylan Billiot. In breakers, so much harder in this drill. That's a really good ball and a really good catch. Most of these throws have been pretty solid. And once again, no pressure, and it's a little bit different in a locked-in one-on-one setting.
Eyes low, eyes low. Oh, there you go, Juice. There you go, Juice. Drop through. Hey.
Nice. JUAN Johnson. Man, if he is your top backup nickel corner, now once again, Blake Baker does not call it the nickel. He has a different term for it. But, JUAN Johnson has a chance to play a lot. I'm telling you, this is really, really impressive. What makes Johnson and Turner in particular having good reps so impressive is they were mostly offensive players in high school. And here he is going up against Trey'Dez Green, who's been cooking a lot of different people, okay? Remember, Trey'Dez Green has been using this swim move every single time. It is my favorite move in football as a pass rusher, receiver, or whatever. But if you do it every single time, they'll time it, right? In our first practice breakdown, you saw him just cleanly swim over Deshaun Spears, and I've been calling him Springs. My apologies to Deshaun. And he was just able to run right by him. So JUAN Johnson's like, look, I've been seeing you do the swim move, which is, putting your left arm or your right arm and just going around him to the side. Watch what Johnson does here. Look at how well he times it, the swim move, right? He sees that the arm starts going over, and bam, he jams him right in the abdomen. That is perfectly legal, and it knocks his timing off. So if you look at it, we'll slow it down. If you look at it from the tight end or the receiver's point of view, I love the swim, like I said, but you can't do it every single time, and that's part of becoming, a complete nuanced route runner. This is definitely one of the better reps I've seen all spring from a guy, once again, who's just now learning how to start and play full-time DB. He is all over this guy. And think about this from JUAN Johnson's perspective. Notice how this is a 6'7" guy going up against a guy who is not 6'7", 6 foot, maybe. Maybe a little bit taller, maybe a little bit shorter, whatever. And look, they're even. There's no separation at all, okay? Is there a little tug on the back of the jersey? Yes. Here's, obviously, Jacoby Stevens right here. God, that is ridiculous. And, man, dude, you find me a better defensive back rep this spring. So there you go. Floating in your face some other fun videos, and we'll talk to you soon. It is PHO, baby. Boom!